Hey everybody, Audrey here, the Fit, Fearless, and Faithful Mom. Thanks so much for stopping by. Today's video is a collaboration video started by Michelle over at A Common Life. Thank you, Michelle, for starting this video on the 10 virtues of marriage. You can find Michelle's channel linked below, along with the other ladies who has done what virtue, so that you can follow the example of our mother, our lady. So what I am going to be focusing on is blind obedience. So first things first, the virtues of Mary actually come from St. Louis de Montfort, who had a huge devotion to Mary, and he recognized that in order to get closer to Christ, the fastest way possible, it's through his mother, because who knows Christ the best? Mary. And Mary gave her yes immediately. I'm sure she was pretty nervous. Now, the 10 virtues of Mary are actually represented by the star that you see in the picture with me right now, and that's why she's called our morning star. These virtues of Mary that St. Louis de Montfort set up, at first glance, they seem like, oh, I can definitely do that. But when you really get down to it, they're hard. They require us to remove our humanness, to remove the control that we want to have. So how did Mary have blind obedience? Well, when the angel Gabriel appeared to her, the angel Gabriel said, Mary, you're going to have the Christ child. And she said, how can this be? Like, I've never been with a man. How? And he said, okay, the Holy Spirit is going to descend upon you. And she said, thy will be done, not my will, not, can you give me a minute to think about it? I don't really know if I can do that right now. I'm not quite sure. No, she said, thy will be done. We'll figure it out. It was I'm going to act now, think later. Because once you start thinking about something, that's when wheels start turning that shouldn't be turning at all. Okay, thy will be done. What's my next play? Well, her next play was prayer, continuous prayer. I'm not sure what book it is. I'll have to ask my mom, and I'll put it down below. But my mom read a book about Mary and Joseph and how they led a continuous blind obedience by continuously praying. They would prostrate themselves for hours and hours and hours in order to gain guidance of how they should raise Christ. What should they do to protect him? Because from the very beginning, Mary was under attack. She was pregnant and people wanted to kill her. She had Christ. People wanted to kill Christ. She and Joseph had to protect Christ continuously. And then eventually, during the crucifixion, she was there and she said, yes. Now, in order to understand blind obedience, we need to remove our humanness. We need to be able to see past something that might hurt. If we go back to the angel Gabriel, she said, I've never been with a man. And I'm sure she had inside of her, I am going to need to tell Joseph, what is he going to say? But in her obedience, she knew that God was going to take care of it. I'm sure she had a little bit of anxiety, but she said, God, you got this. And did he? Yeah. Because Joseph did want to divorce her, but God said, no, don't worry, I got it. When it came to Herod wanting to kill Christ, the Lord was with them. And when the Magi came, he told them in a dream, like, go back to your countries a different way. So that was another way that the Lord protected. They were obedient from day one. Even up until Christ's death. I'm not sure how any of you feel on Holy Thursday, but on Holy Thursday, when they process through the church, start like dimming the lights, and they set the mood, and you almost feel like you're like entering into the agony in the garden, and then you realize like Good Friday is upon you. Like I scream like inside. I'm like, no, like because I just picture myself on Good Friday as a mother, because she was able to separate her humanness and she realized, okay, God has a bigger plan and things are gonna hurt, but on the backside, if I follow Christ and if I follow God, it's gonna be okay. And man, was it okay, right? Christ was raised from the dead, like the resurrection happened. So I think that's the biggest thing that we need to remember with blind obedience, that sometimes it can be scary, but we need to remember that if we follow God, man, he makes things like sweet as pie. So here's an example of God asking me to do something. I had hesitations, I had reservations, but I followed him and it came out okay. Except, now have I always followed Christ blindly? No, I have questioned him for a day or two and said, I don't really know if I can do that. I don't know. But then when I give my yes, it turns out awesome. When I give God my no, things don't really turn out okay. So here's how I've gotten to the point where I'm at right now in being able to hear God is by being quiet and sitting and listening, which is what I think Mary and Joseph did. Because if you're sitting and continuously talking like, God, should I do this? God, should I do that? Are you really talking to me? You end up spiraling yourself and not able to hear God. It's like having a conversation with a friend. If you're talking too much, then you can't hear what the other person is saying. And in this case, it's God. One of the other ways that we can get to know God more in order to hear him and follow him, just as Mary did, is by studying the scriptures. I have said this over and over. Study the scriptures. Understand the scriptures. Understand who Mary is in relation to the scriptures, because she is all over. Now, something that I highly recommend, which we have started on April 28th, is 33 days to morning glory. This will help you get even closer to understanding her more, understanding her virtue. Pray through her, talk to her. Say, Mary, like, I need you. You're my mother. How do I become more like you in order to get closer to Christ? To sum this all up, in order to follow blindly as best as possible, we need to remove our humanness, our pride, and our control. Release the control. Mary didn't have that. She just said, how is this possible? She went to Christ with a childlike attitude. How is this possible? Okay, let's jump in. You ever notice that like kids just go? I was just swimming with my kids and my nephews, and it was pretty chilly, but they just jumped in and they were like, this is a party, this is great. And I was like, ugh. I was freezing. They didn't care. Act now, think later, and your journey will turn out, I think, a whole lot better than you could have ever imagined. All right, let me know how you lead a blind, obedient life, just as Mary did. Thank you again to Michelle over at A Common Life for starting this collaboration on the 10 virtues of Mary. I am really happy that I got this one because it has applied to me a lot. So it's kind of funny when she told me that I was going to be doing this one. Please be sure to check the link below again for all of the other women who are part of this collaboration. They have wonderful channels too, and they have lots to share about the virtues of Mary. Take care, everybody. If I can pray for you in any way, please let me know. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Remember, tap that subscribe button. Would love to hang out with you some more. Bye, everybody.